Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Max, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on the podcast.
Yes, no problem. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for giving me the invite.
No, I appreciate it. It'd be good for you to start with giving a bit of an introduction to who you are, where you're from.
Yeah. Okay. So my name's Max. I'm currently based in Huddersfield. It's pretty close to Manchester. I begun with doing a degree in computer science, and I did take a year out of that degree and ventured over to the Netherlands and did find a company there called Casix. So thanks to Casix, they happened to be using Mendix, and that was the first time I've got introduced to a low code platform. So that was pretty interesting. And now I'm back in the UK and currently working at PwC as the Mendix platform manager.
Nice, nice. And when you went to Netherlands for the kind of, you were obviously looking for opportunities to work, and because you were studying computer science, you're probably learning a lot of traditional code.
Yes.
Did you have kind of any, preference of, technology you'd like to work with at the time
Yes.
before you got the job?
It's funny because when you a lot of students and myself as well, we all think, yeah, we're just going to get head down, traditional coding
Yeah,
for 12 hours a day.
yeah.
But no, when I found Mendix, I never knew what it was, didn't know what the
Mm,
platform was. I never previously got introduced to any low code platforms before that. And Mendix is quite a hot thing in the Netherlands. So
yeah,
glad I got introduced to that. So,
yeah, yeah. And what was your kind of obviously they probably told you about it in the interview,
hmm.
and you went away and did your own kind of research. What was your first reaction to, because obviously you're learning about traditional, and then you've been all of a sudden interviewed for this low code job. What
Yeah,
was your initial reaction?
yeah, my first reaction was this works. This works. It's so easy to build something. Didn't have to connect to a database. I didn't have to install any node packages. Just went into the editor and started building. So when they did ask me at first, do you know what Mendix is? Mendix? No, let me have a
Yeah.
Google. It seemed pretty interesting. I'm quite open minded into learning technologies. That was kind of the reason
Mm,
why I thought I'd venture out to
yeah.
a place like that to see what new things I could pick up, which would separate me from other students.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A bit out of your comfort zone as well, kind of going
yeah,
to another country, new culture. How did you find that experience?
well, it was great actually being in Amsterdam. It's very international, but fortunately my dad is Dutch, so I did get
Ah, okay, nice.
a bit of a head start with the
Yeah,
language.
yeah,
So that was good.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
And when you started the role, and obviously, how quick was it for you to, pick it up and kind of get going with it and start, working on projects? Was it something that, took a bit of time because you hadn't used it before? Was it something because you had been learning traditional? And obviously it helps when you're learning these low code platforms if you've got an understanding of everything. Was it much easier?
It was definitely a lot easier, I think, than if I was to jump straight into even though I've been studying computer science, I feel like it
Mm,
was a lot easier to jump into this role as a Mendix developer rather than being a traditional programmer.
mm,
So I think that was quite interesting how quick I managed to bring business value, because I never really knew where I was at as a developer at that sort of stage. And the thing that I did really like and which I found very useful was the all-in-one package that
mm.
Mendix brings with it. You know, you've got the Mendix Cloud, you've got the editor. It's like an all-in-one package, and it all interacts with each other. And so yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's what I found
And
quite.
and when you were kind of obviously when you're in this role, you decided to come back to was that just a short role and you decided, okay, I'm going to come back to the UK now and complete my studies and because
Yeah,
I obviously I've been told you're studying and working full time, if that's correct.
yes, that's correct. Yes, it was a, it was a great company. It was a tough choice to come back
Mm,
to the UK, but I just at that time I felt like the UK was my home,
mm,
so that's the reason why I decided to come back. And
yeah,
I thought I'd be able to bring good business value to PwC, so I
yeah.
ended up getting a role there. So yeah,
And how have you found, because obviously it's not usual that someone studies full time and works full time. How have you kind of managed to juggle that and do what was your kind of thinking behind doing that?
I just I just thought, why not? I know that there's a lot of people that drop out and do roles, which is
Yeah,
fine. And I just didn't want to. I just thought, why not do both? We've
yeah,
got I'm grateful for PwC for the flexible working that they have.
mm,
Um, so yeah, I just manage everything around my work, and I did build a Mendix application for my project, my university
nice,
project. So it kind of
nice.
interacts with my role,
Yeah,
and so I think they still work well together, even though I'm doing
mm,
both full time.
yeah,
So it crosses over slightly, and I'm still upskilling as
yeah,
a pro coder at the same time. So
yeah, yeah. Since you're obviously still kind of working, doing, high code and traditional code, if you weren't in Mendex, is there a kind of favorite technology you'd be leaning towards?
I would say there isn't. I'd say in pro code, it's more building small stuff
Yeah,
rather than having an input in all of it. Um, but there isn't exactly a language that I prefer. I
sure,
feel like
sure.
they're all similar in a way, and
Yeah.
it's just more time consuming than it is.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, you went away to Netherlands and came back. Obviously, you probably had your friends and classmates who did similar or still in the course. And had any of them heard of Mendex? You've come back and obviously you're probably talking about Mendex. What was their kind of, had they heard of it and what was their reaction to you kind of pursuing low code when you're learning more
yeah,
traditional code?
yeah. Interesting. Everybody thinks they're going to be using .NET or
Yeah.
Java, and they didn't even know what Mendix was. There's like Mendix, what's Mendix? I'm like, oh, you should try it. Like they're using some people still are working part time, and they have
Mm,
roles using C sharp, and
mm,
it's very old school for what they're doing. I have introduced Mendix to a few of them. They seem very interested in Mendix, and not just Mendix, also the other low code platforms, which
yeah,
now they've had a bit of awareness. They've gone off and researched. Um,
themselves. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it is a shame that they don't get introduced into these different platforms because there is a lot of platforms out there, and it all comes down to what problems are we trying to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got data science platforms. I know Power Apps fits well in the Microsoft
Yeah.
ecosystem. So I think they should maybe, take a little step back and
Mm,
see what problem they're trying to solve. Then maybe there's a platform for it. And Mendix covers a lot of these problems.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And
definitely.
you mentioned you're a platform manager at PwC. Do you feel because you kind of went down the low code avenue, that's helped kind of accelerate your career? Because obviously you're still quite a young guy, you don't have that much years experience, but you're
Yes,
already kind of in a management position. Have you felt going in the low code direction has helped kind of that in your kind of individual career?
for sure, for sure. I'd like to say I'm an amazing individual that's moved up quick, but I feel like the low code space solves and fills a very valuable gap in society, where we can work together, move forward quick, and I think that's been a huge part in it, in the whole low code space. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And I think, obviously low code in general is growing momentum, and you see all these reports on LinkedIn and things like that where big companies are adopting low code. Do you feel it's the same with, obviously you're from the younger generation. Do you feel kind of the community of developers in the UK itself is also growing quite a bit?
In terms of people just starting out, or
Yeah, people
people,
starting out, people switching over, people kind of, like you've come and you've told some people about it, and they've thought, okay, let me look into it. Um, and obviously you work with customers and things like that. Do you feel, it's definitely more people are kind of open to adapting and trying it out?
I feel like a lot of the time it's mainly like developers that have already got some experience that they kind
Mm,
of switch to Mendix, and they really find the use of Mendix in my experience. I don't feel like there is, in the UK at least, a lot of people have awareness about the platform. They don't know about the
yeah.
platform, so,
Mm,
or they're not being introduced to the platform. So I feel like they should maybe push it to universities,
yeah.
um, for people to use. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like to
Yeah.
be pushed a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that you've been kind of, your whole professional career has kind of been working with Mendix, and there's always regular updates to the platform and things like, that get released. What are some kind of releases that, or even just things that's already been in the platform when you started working with it that you've been really impressed with and makes your job much easier?
Yeah, I'd say for what's made it a lot easier is the modules, the pre-built components that we can just add in. So if there's any technical gap, we've got this Mendix Marketplace modules. It makes it a lot easier. So I'd say that's one. I'd say
Mm.
there's a couple of things on the roadmap. I have joined a few sessions.
Yeah.
There is a Postman integration coming with Mendix, so you can test the endpoint in the editor, and it will generate the microflow for you, and that's a great that would be a great help, because currently I
Mm.
use Postman to test the endpoint, and then I have to go off and rebuild it in Mendix,
Okay.
which is fine, but to have that in Mendix is great.
Yeah.
And another thing, I know there's all this stuff about AI, and
That's the buzzword at the moment, isn't it?
yeah, that's the buzzword. Getting a bit bored of the buzzword, but but it is the buzzword.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot of talk about, should we use low code or should we use AI? But
Mm.
I feel like low code still have its place. I feel like with the visual modeling of Mendix, it will still have its place. What would I prefer to have as a non-developer? Would I want a app which has got loads of generated code, which I don't know really where to go with it? I don't know how to
Mm.
oversee that application. Or would I prefer a generated Mendix app where I could oversee the application with all its visual modeling? Um, so I feel like it's still really got a good place in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you mentioned kind of Postman, and it's going to be coming soon. Is it, and that will obviously make your job much easier. Is there anything that similar to that, but obviously isn't in the pipeline that you would like to see in the platform that would kind of, accelerate what you do and, help you kind of do things better?
Um, if I'm honest, I've been kind of making do with what I have.
Yeah.
I think we could maybe build some internal components, but I think that's just more internal discussions to
Okay.
make things easier. Maybe a module which connects to any internal API or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of possibly we could maybe encourage more data science people to adopt Mendix. I know we can't use Python in Mendix
Mm.
currently. Maybe there's a way around that. So maybe I'd like to see more data science related stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And obviously Mendix is kind of, if you look at all the marketing material and even some of the developers, their title tends to be business engineer or business developer rather than your usual software developer. Do you feel in your role that's true, that you're not just developing, you're very involved on the business side as well?
Yes, yes. I'd uh, I'd say that's a correct title for this. Uh, you solve more business problems and there's less worry, I'd say, about development. And
Mhm.
and it's very interesting actually to be part of more business than it is traditional head down coding.
Mm.
Um, and we can also collaborate easier with other people
Yeah,
internally. So
yeah, yeah. And on the kind of customer standpoint, there's lot of customers are, adapting Mendix, picking Mendix as their supplier for their projects. What's your kind of opinion on why it's gaining more momentum? Large, well-known companies are now kind of using Mendix for their projects. What's your kind of point of view on that, and why do you think now it's kind of really, really well known? Obviously, like you said, still not that well known, but it's definitely growing
mm,
quite a lot.
yeah, good question. I'd say the first thing is probably the track record of the success Mendix has had in different companies. I guess it gives people, oh, should we use Mendix? So I guess in that sense gives them a bit of confidence to try Mendix. And then when they do use it, they realize it's a great platform. You can extend Mendix. You can even add pro code into Mendix. So it's not really many limitations to Mendix. I know people think that, but I don't feel like they're using the right platform. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. And on the kind of business side as well, there's customers who obviously they evaluate other platforms, when they're kind of looking at their project, which low code platform. You as a kind of, even though you kind of went to Netherlands and kind of you were given a job, so it kind of chose the platform for you. Have you ever in your time dabbled with any of the other ones or looked at any of the other ones to kind of compare?
Mhm. Yeah, good. There's a lot of discussion about power apps, and had a little look of it, and just seems very limited to what you can do.
Mm.
And you can still add code in it, and when you do add code in power apps, it seems very very codey. So I'm not sure it's that time consuming, if
Yeah.
I'm honest. So that's the only one I've really played around with, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And someone who's studying kind of, traditional in your studies and working in low code, and you may have had discussions with, peers or other people who are kind of still not on the don't believe in low code and not fans of low code, or there's this thing out there that it what's low code, you can't do a proper project with, you can't build applications with low code. What's your kind of message to those who don't believe in low code for the future?
Hmm. I'd say look at the history of Mendix, the track record of Mendix, which companies are using Mendix, and it's all out there that we can trial. So I think just give it a go. Just give it a go. That's the
Yeah.
there's always going to be a discussion if you're not going to use the platform. There's always going to be a discussion. So
Yeah, yeah. And with kind of ties into the last question. If there's kind of people who, what would be your kind of, what would you advise people who want to start a career in Mendix? How either they're kind of not from an IT background, or from a traditional background, what kind of advice would you give them?
yeah, so Mendix is great. It's got its own academy, got its own learning paths that you can do. You can get its certifications from there. I did actually introduce Mendix to a friend who isn't a developer,
Oh,
and
nice.
from 6 months of learning Mendix, he got a job at ABN AMRO.
Nice. Yes, in the
Yeah,
Netherlands.
so
Yeah.
that's a great start for him as well. So for
Yeah.
him to come from a non-technical background and be able to upskill so fast is great.
Yeah, that's
So
really good.
it's really great.
What was he doing before?
He wanted to be a mechanical engineer, and
Nice.
he
Okay.
he didn't really enjoy it
Hmm.
and wanted a career switch. So I said, hey, why don't you learn Mendix? They've got these learning paths. You've got the academy. You can learn everything. You can make some apps in your own time. And he went off and did it. And if he can do it, so can other people. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's really enjoying his time now. So it's great.
Well, you added another person to the community, so that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. And as kind, as a graduate, someone who's, studying, what's your kind of advice to other graduates and how they can kind of, really kind of get involved in the low code space?
Yeah, I'd say just be open-minded. Don't fix yourself on being a pro coder. You might not enjoy it in the future. There's a lot of platforms out there, and I feel like just go off and do a bit of research on how technology is going. I know in university we do a lot of complicated stuff, loads of data structures, and we don't have much visibility on the platform. So I'd say just be open-minded and try new things. And I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
played a huge part in my life. So
yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned that obviously in your course you did some Mendix work, for your course. How was that kind of received with, kind of obviously you're learning computer science traditional and you've submitted something in Mendix. What was the kind of feedback on that? Is that something that kind of, because I know obviously all these low code platforms are trying to start university programs and try and get low code really involved and taught at that level. When you kind of bought this project, how was it received?
yeah, interesting. There was a bit funny about the platform. Like, is it suitable? But I was able to deliver more than I was able to in pro code in such a small amount of time. There was like, oh, actually, this is an interesting platform.
Mm,
So I think hopefully I've raised a bit of awareness about the low code platforms there, and I think there was also keen to see new technologies in the university as well. I
yeah.
don't think it's been done before. Um, and there was also concern about the limitations of the platform as well,
Mm,
as opposed to pro code, because I have a slightly different setup to everybody else. Um, so yeah, it's
So
ongoing.
did you, all those kind of things that they pushed and asked about, did you kind of ease their mind and kind of show them the way around?
Yeah, I kind of ease them off gradually as I started to deliver more. I was able to explain more. I can do more on the platform than I would have done in pro code just because of the time we have. So I'll say integrating with everything I needed to integrate with, and yeah, I think they blew their mind slightly.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
they do. So I really do hope they. I think there is a couple of universities in the UK that have Mendix. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I think it's
Yeah,
Middlesbrough, but I'd like to see that in my university for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think it's great that obviously you took a year out, you went to the Netherlands, and that job's kind of now shaped your career, and you're quite passionate about, like, your first job's kind of picked the technology that now you're passionate about, and I'm assuming you're going to take that forward.
Yes, yes, for sure. I'm very, very fortunate to be introduced to Mendix, and yeah, I'm going to keep growing with the platform. I like the way it's heading, and yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I think it was good to, talk to you and find out kind of, obviously you're not years into your career, so it's good to kind of speak to someone more kind of at the early stages and see your passion and for low code and also, you know, how long you've been using, what, 2 years nearly probably within
Yes.
Mendix. And in that time, you've already introduced couple of people to Mendix. Someone's got a job. So I think that's more than some people do their whole career, right? So
Mhm.
it's great that you're trying to kind of promote um low code at the kind of, at a younger level where people can really consider it. So I look forward to, following you and seeing, where you go next. So maybe we speak again in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been good. Thanks for having me on.
Amazing. Thanks, Max. Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by iTrack. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.